Welcome to Insights with Ovationz. I am your host, Aaron Ellis. Today, I am joined by Eric Brown. Now, Eric brings over 25 years of experience in leadership strategy and operations to optimize organizational performance. He's been instrumental in transforming team dynamics and driving business growth with a focus on simplicity, adaptability, and collaboration. Through his consulting firm, Imperio, he's dedicated to transforming teams and decision makers and elevating them to unparalleled success. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. Really happy to be here today.
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of reading like I normally do before I'm going to interview somebody, and I've gotten to know you a little bit off camera, but I'm super curious. I know your history, but I would love to hear your history and how it led to what you're doing today, and then we can bridge how that plays into what you're doing today. But a little bit about your path to where you are today.
Yeah, no problem. What got me here to where I'm at today, like you had said, I spent 25 years in U.S. Army Special Forces as a Green Beret. Through that time, a lot of people just think, Afghanistan or Iraq or, wartime service. But over the 25 years, I did a lot of other deployments working within U.S. embassies, wearing a suit, then back to Afghanistan, fighting in a war, and then to Colombia, training soldiers, how to shoot the rifle. Through all that, you can imagine everything always changes. Like every mission was different. Every problem was a new problem. So you had where we had to start what you were talking about being simple, being able to adapt and being able to collaborate. So as I was getting out of the Army, we always have a joke of what we're going to do when we grow up. Yeah. I always wanted to keep doing what I was doing. I didn't want to go work for another giant corporation. I was driven in Special Forces, being there by helping others, right? Our motto is to free the oppressed. So taking that in to help others within the private sector, help them grow with their team development and leadership.
Wow. So one of my main questions when I was looking and when I saw things like Special Forces and I saw Green Beret, like I don't have a military background, right? I do have a background of reaching a very pinnacle level, like in the entertainment industry and the health and fitness industry. So I know what it takes to reach those levels. And I would say that I had to understand the simplicity of what I was doing. It had to be simple for me to succeed that level. But when I think of a Green Beret and Special Forces, I don't think simplicity. I think like massively difficult, like how, like, right. And then you taking what you learned there and you use the word simplicity. I get the adaptability. I get the collaboration, maybe not to the degree and the way you do it from being a Green Beret, but do you have that sort of resistance from people or like, wow, you're going to come in and train us like a Green Beret? Like, is there any kind of feeling around that or how do you bridge that?
We get that quite a bit, Aaron, on the, you're going to have us come in there and I don't want to, go outside, roll around in the mud or carry heavy objects or I'm like, well, I don't like doing that stuff either. No one does. We'll do it if you want to, right? We can make that happen. But no, a lot of people get, I think, simple confused with easy.
Yeah.
Right. When they hear simple, they hear easy. But when we were talking about simple, we're taking complex actions and breaking them down into where it can be a simple task so you can achieve it. We always joke in Special Forces, what makes us, we're like, hey, you're the best of the best. We get to be the best of the best at being good at really easy, the basic task. So if you're really good at your basic task and skills that everyone has to do at your job, when the hard stuff comes and you're trained, you can do it. But you got to learn how to break things down to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, working with different folks, they do get a little, I hate the word intimidated or just unsure or uneasy of what we have to bring. And really, we just want to come in and help. That's all we want to do and show you a unique way of looking at things.
I love that. Like, I love how you distinguish between simple and easy. And that's one of the main conversations I've had with people too. Like, how'd you do it? I'm like, oh, simple. And they equate that as easy, and that's not necessarily true. You also talked about breaking it down. Now, I think that's what's intriguing me too about what you're doing, because I've done leadership, I've done strategy, I've done all that in corporations, never from the perspective of a Green Beret. But I have understood the need to break things down and simplify them and understand that the building blocks and the steps that lead and get people to look at the macro and come back to the micro and zoom out and zoom in and all that kind of stuff. So how have you simplified it? Can you give an example, or do you have any kind of methodologies that you bring in that really help people start to understand how simple it can be, like steps you lead them through?
Yeah, we have our 4 steps, happy to share them because it's all about the process, right? We get people to actually talk to each other and work side by side. One thing that we do differently than other companies that might do what we do is that we work side by side. Anything that you're doing, we're doing with you. So we're facilitating, working through the problem set with you. So the first thing we normally do is have people say, hey, what challenge are you trying to solve? That's the first step, right? Define the challenge, define your opportunity that you're trying to get after.
Right.
And a lot of times different people in the room have a different idea of what they're trying to get after. So if you're you think that you're thinking of 2 different challenges, obviously you're not going to get to the end of it because you're trying to solve 2 different things.
Yeah.
That brings you, after you figure out exactly what you want to do, then you define the environment. The environment could be not necessarily outside, but is it internal to your company, external? As we say in the military, men, weapons, and equipment. Same thing, resources and people and places to work. After you get all that lined out, and then breaking it into defining what risk exists. And not necessarily you can't get rid of risk. You just need to be able to minimize it and mitigate it to where it's not anything will hurt the mission. Yeah. And then finally write a way forward that everyone understands and can get going. So if you take those steps and you work on each of those steps systematically together, large group, breakout, back together, you can take a really complex problem and get people going in the right direction. And the short time is half a day.
So you said challenge, environment, risk, and the way forward. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're actually having them do the work. I think that's cool. You're actually in there with them. So that, to me, that's huge. I've always been big on integrating everything I teach and literally involving the audience and involving the team that I'm working with, not just speaking to them. So I think I can see that being a massively beneficial aspect of what you guys are doing. And obviously, relating it back to being a Green Beret, I'm sure they didn't just talk to you guys about what you were going to do.
Yeah, so it's a lot of experience-based exchange of what you're trying to do and experiences that you learned along the way. And we do start each of our programs to get everyone talking because we've learned through different programs we've done. You can take a group of people who don't know each other. And let's say you go do a 4-mile hike through the National Park Trail. Mm-hmm. You go from that morning when people aren't talking to each other, within 30 minutes of walking down this trail, people are all broken up and chatting with each other. And then by lunchtime, you've made a team. Everyone knows each other, told stories, and ready to go and know each other the way they didn't know at the beginning of the morning. Yeah. And that's where we lose ourselves in our tech age right now of everyone, is really fast. Everything's short burst of engagements, nearly almost all the time, not personal interactions. They're using like a piece of tech to interact, which is nothing wrong with that. We need that. I'm all about it. Yeah. But sometimes you actually have to get in front of a person and talk and understand each other, and you can get a lot more done and be a lot more successful. Yeah.
Totally makes sense. I like that you're, especially in the age of technology and AI and what we're dealing with right now. I'm huge on personal touch, personal relationships, cultivating the relationships still. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of companies where I've come in and seen they're having these problems. I'm looking at everything. I'm like, what is the variable that's causing the problem? And one of the things is the I'll use the term they use with the fractional workers they're using. They're not ever spending time to establish that relationship, so they're not getting the time compression. They're not getting the compounding effect of getting to know each other and understanding how people talk and stuff. So I love that you start with that. You talk about starting with that. You mentioned something in the challenges. Can you give an example? I'm curious, and because I've gone into companies too where people have a different idea of what needs to be done and why it needs to be done and what the challenge is, and getting them on the same page. Like you said, you have to have that. Otherwise, the rest of it doesn't make any sense. Can you give some examples on what kind of differences there's been, or like kind of challenges you guys have had to face, and how you've bridged them to get people to be able to move to that second step?
Yeah, we one of our clients is a good example where they were going from third-party distribution of their product, and they wanted to go direct from them to direct to consumer. And they're on the last 6 months of an 18-month strategy, and they came in to work on that to make sure that they get across the finish line. And what we found is that they were playing in a bubble where the executives were talking one language, and then the actual doers were talking something else. So when we broke them up into different groups, what the executives found is one of the most junior people there actually had the solution to get them across the line. And he had never spoke. He had told us he had never really spoken in these these exchanges in the boardroom or conference tables and planning, just because he didn't feel like he had the place to. And then we voiced that a lot in our background as Green Beret Special Forces. The lowest ranking person could have the right idea, so everyone gets a voice to speak, and we enabled that, and that has got that challenge through where they talked about it, came a system to get everyone's voice heard to come together on how to solve their challenge.
This is the collaboration part, correct?
Yeah. It comes down to collaboration, right? You have a company of a lot of people, so let's use all your resources available, right? And it's not just you and the CEO and the chief operating officer. Now, those two people carry a lot of weight and drive the company. I mean, you could have 1,000 people under them. That's a lot of brains that solve problems, come up with ideas, a way to do things.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Now I'm getting that. I'm putting all the connecting the dots here. Like when we're talking about optimizing organizational performance, obviously there has to be collaboration. If there isn't collaboration, then you're not going to be able to optimize it, or you're only going to be able to optimize it to a certain level, right? Now let's bring in the whole adaptability then. How does that play into these 4 stages and what you do with companies from going from that challenge to the environment, into the risk, and then into the way forward? Where does that adaptability play? Or does it play in all 4 areas?
I think adaptability is you have to use it in all 4 areas, but it comes into play where a lot of people get stuck. This is the way we do it, and that's just how it's done, right? That's one of the worst things you ever want to hear when you go into a new job or something. Why do you do that? That's why we always done it. Yep. But on adaptability, you can see a lot now, right? If you resist artificial intelligence or AI right now, you're gonna get left in the dust. The same way when Netflix offered, Blockbuster, hey, you want to work together? No.
Yeah.
Who's still here, right? Who has a TV station that we all watch like way too much?
Right.
They adapted to the environment. And Special Forces the same way. You get used to a certain way of doing things. Like one example, people used to skirt up against a wall before we went through a door, to do attack a target. Yeah. The bad guys figured that out, and I started putting bombs next to the wall. You can blowing up
to adapt.
Adapt how you into the room or compound that you're going into. So not so extreme in business where you're going to die, but I always say it's super extreme because you're playing with people's lives, because they're counting on you they're working, they're getting their salary to feed their families, right? So it's super important to keep adapting to how the world's changing, to stay on the forefront and be the best that you can be.
So let's dive in that adaptation a little bit more, because that's one of my favorite topics to bring into organizations. Now, and my question to you is this. When you are working with adaptation and helping people understand the ability to adapt, are you finding that it's mostly only in the reactive sense, meaning they have a challenge and a problem, they're going to have to learn how to adapt? Or have you been able to, in the engagements, move them into a place where they're purposely utilizing adaptation? Let me explain to what I mean by that. Mm-hmm. Years ago, a couple decades ago, one of my mentors, he taught me this law of adaptation. And the way he phrased it was, he said that our ability to adapt is always going to be is much stronger than our ability to set goals and discipline ourselves. So he would say, like most people won't do things when they want to, won't do it when they need to, but they will when they have to, right? So he taught me to utilize my brain to put myself into a have to position, to literally say yes to something before I knew how to do it. So I had to figure it out, right? You know what I mean? But I get that. But I still, in a lot of my work, am working with people with adaptation in the way that they're doing it in a reactive sense. They're being forced to adapt. They're kicking and screaming to a degree. We've always done it this way. I don't want to do it differently. I can't teach an old dog new tricks, whatever the paradigm is and the program is. But are you finding that you're able to progress people to be able to apply adaptation prior to needing to adapt? You know what I mean by what I'm saying there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, completely. A big thing within our background within the Green Berets and Special Forces of looking at different mission sets and how to achieve success, even though they're always changing. That's how we always had to adapt. So we did that through war gaming in a team room of talking different things out of how to do it before it hit us in the face, right? We wanted to be one step ahead where we got to pick our mission and not get told what our mission is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. A successful Special Forces team is picking their missions, not being told what mission to do.
Yeah.
Same thing comes to exercises working with clients now. I have a simple one where we changed your planning up a little bit or strategy sessions where you can do one that's two different groups. One that's constrained, that's real life. You have your real money, your real people, your real buildings to solve the problem. And then you have unconstrained where you got rainbows and unicorns. You have all the money in the world, all the resources. And I found it's taken over half a day sometimes to get people to truly plan unconstrained.
Wow.
They're like, well, I don't have that much. It has to be done in 6 weeks because that's all we have is 6 weeks. I'm like, well, no, you're unconstrained. You can have as many weeks as you want. No, I only have 6 weeks. You're like, no, it's for just 30 minutes here. Just do it with as many weeks as you want. So you can look at a different way to do it. And sometimes that's how we try to get them to do, like you're saying, instead of being reactionary, where as they're working, don't get so set and this is all I have right now. Start working with your colleagues and the people you're working with. Well, what if we had this? We could do this. And then think of another way to go with something, bring it up to the decision maker, let him or her decide. And like, oh, yeah, we don't have that, but let me divert some resources and get you that widget that you need. And let's go down that road. So just thinking outside of what you have, right? Just think of what you want to do and how do you get there. I love, Aaron, what you said about just make it where you have to do it. I see that a lot in the world of entrepreneurship. If you want to succeed, you agree to a lot of things you might not exactly be ready for or know exactly what to do, but you'll never get there if you keep saying, well, let me wait till I'm ready. You got to do things when you're not ready, you get yourself ready.
And life's going to do it to you anyway. Like you're going to be forced to adapt anyway. So I learned that if I can choose, like you said, with the Green Berets, like the best teams are the ones that choose their missions. When you get to the point, you're literally somewhat calling the shots. You're manifesting like fulfillment and how you want your day, your life, and things to go in a proactive way rather than a reactive way. So I love that. I loved your answer. It was spot on. I figured I love that you had something there. I've asked people some questions like that before. They're like, oh, that's a good question. I should probably work that into what I'm doing, but you nailed it. The last question, we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to talk about another topic that's it's becoming very relevant right now. This time of year, Common comes around. And one of the things I love to do is approach these topics in a way that is not the norm, right? To give people a little different way to look at things. And that topic is sustainability. So as I was thinking about that before getting on with you, I'm like, I wonder how this would apply to Eric and what Eric does. Now that I've talked to you a little bit, I would love to hear your perspective on how what you do helps companies sustain their growth, how it helps companies not only adapt and elevate and optimize their performance, but sustain what they've optimized. And I can totally agree that, or I can assume, even though we talked about what assume means, that obviously as a Green Beret, you've learned how to sustain your life. You have ways that you sustain your life because you want to stay alive, right? So I'm curious on your take on sustainability from the perspective of what you do and what you bring to companies.
Well, one is a great question on sustainability. We were fighting that a lot on my, as I was leaving Special Forces, where, we were redlined for about 20 years. And how do you sustain a force when you've been redlined for 20 years? And what we found is you had to start letting people take a knee and get themselves right in different aspects of your readiness, right? You don't have to be 100% ready to go, 365 days a year.
Yeah.
You got to be able to train, better yourself, and then go. For companies, that's the same way you look at it. You're redlining your employees 100%. You expect 120% every day, and they're going to do it. But how do you get them to be better? If they just keep redlining, they're just going to know and be who they are.
Yeah.
If you invest in them, train them more, have them interact with each other to learn from each other, learn different skill sets. One, they'll still work just as hard, but they'll be able to do more. And if you invest in them and give them their time to grow in their personal space, grow professionally, in the end, the more you invest in the people, the more that you'll get out of your company.
Love it. Love it, man. This has been a great conversation, man. I really have enjoying talking to you and stuff and hearing how your perspective on this stuff. And you definitely bridge any of the preconceived ideas of like, oh, Green Beret to business leadership, right? It makes sense because I can see it from a high performance perspective. But I still had a little reservation, like Green Beret. Wait a minute, that's scary. That's hard. I get the word you used was intimidating because I've never been down that road, but I have in some version or another pushed myself at a level that most people haven't, right? So appreciate your time, appreciate your sharing your expertise, and just want to say thanks for being on the show today. Is there any final thought you would want to leave with everybody? If there isn't, no big deal, but I always like to ask if there's something that's just weighing on you that you want to leave the audience with.
No, I just want to say thanks for your time, Aaron. I really appreciate it. Anytime somebody gives me their time, I want to tell them thank you because it's your most precious resource that you have. And then for everyone out there, just keep doing what you want to do. And as long as you're helping other people, you're doing the right thing.
Love it. Totally agree, Eric. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, everybody. This has been another episode of Insights with Ovationz. We'll see you next time.